about the different types of operating systems. Yesterday we had studied about what is an operating system, what are its functions. We had also seen some images and screenshots of popularly available operating systems. So today what we are going to do is we are going to discuss about different types of operating systems. We had studied how an operating system works, how it actually acts as a driver for your computer. Operating system is the very important software for your computer, which is very essential for making your computer work. So today in this class we are going to get introduced to the various types of operating systems. So right now I am only going to give you a short overview of different types of operating system, and then we would have a dedicated class for each of them. So we start with specifying the different types of operating systems. So what are they? At the very beginning we have a single user, single programming or single tasking operating system. So I am using the abbreviation OS for operating system. Next we have multi-user, single tasking operating system. Then we have multi-user, multitasking operating system. Henceforth, we have multi-programming operating system. After multi-programming operating system, we have time-sharing operating system. Then we have real-time operating system. And finally, we have interactive operating system. So take a very good look at all the different types over here. We have single user, single tasking operating system. We have multi-user, single tasking operating system. We have multi-user, multitasking operating system, multi-programming, time-sharing, real-time and interactive modes. Today we will be just taking a small introduction to all these topics, and then we will move on to its detailed explanation in the further classes. So we will first start with the very first, that is single user, single tasking operating system. So students, when it comes to different types of operating system, it is quite possible that you are using some of them and you are not using the others, because some of them are made for the normal personal computers which we have. Okay, for example, we are the operating system which we are using right now, that is we use a number of operating systems like Windows, then Linux, then Mac. So all these operating systems, they have features of more than one types. Multiple users can use them, so they come under the category of multi-user operating systems also. They can perform more than one tasks at a time simultaneously, so they can come under multitasking operating systems also. Then moreover, they also have features like real-time operating systems, time-sharing operating systems, interactive OS. So one operating system can share properties of more than one categories also. Coming to the first one, single user, single tasking operating system. Examples would be shared in the online class, students, because I need to share the screenshots of those operating systems with you. So we have single user, single different tasking operating systems where the operating system supports only one user and it performs only one task, that is, it executes only one program at a time. So one user and one program at a time. One example of such an operating system is DOS, that is disk operating system. DOS, that is disk operating system. So this type of an operating system supported only one user when we didn't have Windows. Prior to Windows, the operating system which was there was DOS, and at that time we didn't have multitasking or multimedia based computers. Okay, ask the generation who have actually worked on DOS, any operating system like DOS. So we see DOS over here. Now, because it is a disk operating system, it performs one task at a time. It was a character user interface based operating system, that is CUI. Character user interface. A CUI based operating system. So when we say a character user interface operating system, it means you need to remember commands. Every task is done in the form of commands which you have to remember, which you have to memorize, and then only you will be able to perform tasks like creating files, creating folders, deleting folders, okay, or even opening folders or opening files, typing something. So all these tasks which nowadays we can do it very easily using point and click operations because we are using graphical user interface operating system. So all those tasks needed commands, and every command was considered as one program. One command is one program which is executed. Okay, and so at one time you can perform only one type of task. Suppose if I write everything started with a C prompt in DOS. So suppose you write here MD school. MD is the command which represents make directory. What is a directory? It is a DOS name for folder. Every folder is known as a directory in DOS. Okay, so CUI operating systems like DOS, Unix, they use the term directory. So when we say directory, it means that create a folder. Now creating a folder doesn't mean you can open the folder. For that you have to again use another command, cd, school, that is called directory. Once you do this, you will get something like this. That is, sorry, I used this one. So once you do this, you get this kind of an icon over here, which means that now I am currently within the school folder. Okay, so this is how for creating directory, that is a folder, for entering or opening the folder, you need to remember commands. Okay. So these were examples of single user, single tasking operating system which could handle only one user and one task at a time. Coming to the second one, still a single user operating system but multitasking. Some early versions of Windows, they were generally single user but multitasking OS, that is able to perform multiple tasks at the same time. That is, more than one program should be executed at the same time. So that is why the name has been given as multitasking.
are certain features of Windows or any modern day operating system that allows you to listen to music while typing a letter or writing a program or watching videos. All these things you can do at the same time. So how do you think it is possible? That is because it is a multitasking operating system. It can easily coordinate tasks which are, it can easily coordinate more than one programs at a time. Okay, so that is the reason why it is what? Multitasking operating system. Next is multi-user single task. Usually this is just a category. We don't have any such computer because it is generally assumed that if any operating system is multi-user, if it supports multiple users, it will definitely support more than one task at a time. So we are going to omit this. We'll directly come to multi-programming, which is also multitasking. When we say multi-programming or multitasking operating system, it refers to all those type of operating systems which are able to execute more than one programs. And usually these type of operating systems are multi-user also. Because many of these operating systems, they run on servers. Servers which use client-server technology. Which use client-server operating systems. They use client-server technology, that is, there is one server and more than one client systems are attached to this server. These client systems could be individual workstations, they could be individual personal computers, that is autonomous computers which have their own hard disk, their own processor, their own memory, everything, or they could be dumb terminals also. Talking about dumb terminals, we say that such client-based systems or clients which only have a display unit and an input unit. That is, it would have a user console like a keyboard for enabling you to enter anything, insert anything, and it would have a monitor which allows you to view something. That's it. Okay, so any data which is keyed in using the keyboard, it goes into your server. So it is saved on your server machine, and if suppose you need to check anything, you need any information or data from the server, a request is sent here and the request is sent to the server. Server serves that request and gives some response. So such type of systems, they usually need multi-programming operating systems. Even Windows is a multi-programming and multi-user operating systems because more than one users can use it. If you have just one server and you have multiple clients attached to it, all of the clients would be considered as a separate user. So all of them will be able to use the same operating system, the same computer, and everybody would have an idea, they would have an illusion that they are using their own personal computer. Whereas the truth is they are actually sharing everything. Understood? Everybody is using the common device, they are using the common hard disk, the common processor, the common memory, everything common. Okay. So multi-programming, why multi-programming? Because now multiple users are using the same computer. So it is possible that all of the users would be sending their data. Understood? All the users would be sending their data to the computer. So not only data, but they would be sending their processes. They would want their processes to execute on the same computer. So how to manage the resources? that is how to manage the various computer resources that is done by such operating systems. Now when we come to multi-programming, students, the fact is there are two very important resources of a computer. One is CPU time and one is memory. When I say memory, I refer to RAM. So CPU time and RAM, these are the two very important resources of a computer. Any program which is to be executed, it has to be first brought into RAM and then it has to be executed by the CPU. So this type of an operating system, it decides out of various processes P1, P2, P3, where every P represents a process, which process will be first brought into RAM, which process will be allotted the CPU, which process has to be taken out or spooled out of RAM and sent to the hard disk. So all this type of work is done by multi-programming operating systems. So our modern day operating systems are also in fact multi-programming operating systems. Coming to the next one, we have number 4, time sharing operating system. When we say time sharing operating system, it means what? If you have more than one processors, a definite amount of time is given to each of the process, which is known as a time quantum or time slice. So sometimes say about 5 nanoseconds is given or 5 microseconds is given to process P1, where it executes for that amount of time and then your CPU switches over to the next process. It also executes for 5 microseconds and then again it switches over to the next process, that is P3, and then again it switches back to P1. So it continues in a round robin fashion. P1, P2, P3, P1, P2, P3. So a certain amount of time is given to each of these processes to execute. So each of them will be executing for a certain amount of time. Okay. And it is possible that suppose P3 was a shorter program, it got completed, it will leave the system. And now this round robin will continue between P1 and P2 only. And until and unless any new process enters the system, they both will continue executing in this fashion and finally their execution will get completed. Our next type of operating system is the real-time operating system. Now what is a real-time operating system? See, when we say real-time, it means there is a certain deadline. You have to perform a task within that particular deadline, otherwise the task will fail and the system may also crash. So these are certain things like task has to be completed within that deadline, otherwise there might be some major crashes in the system, the entire system might collapse or any part of the system might not work later on. Okay, so these type of operating systems are known as real-time operating systems. I will give you an example. We all have heard about unmanned space probes. Space probes like Galileo, Juno, Cassini-Huygens. These are unmanned space probes which had been sent to deep space for exploring certain celestial bodies. Like Galileo mission was basically for it was on a mission to distant planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn and all. Juno is basically an unmanned space probe which is sent to currently orbiting Jupiter and collecting information regarding this. Cassini-Huygens was sent to Saturn. So likewise we have so many even Pathfinder and other space probes which are there in space. Okay. How are these space probes able to work? Have they ever given it a thought? How these space probes they work? How they are able to manage all the activities with absolutely zero human presence in the space? Okay. Why? Because they are directly controlled by a ground mission control. But you should know that the farther we move away from Earth, the amount of time needed for communication also increases. Okay, it might take hours to reach, the signals might take hours to reach Juno and then come back. Sometimes for space missions like Voyager, where we know that Voyager 1 and 2, they have even surpassed the solar system and they are currently voyaging through the interstellar space. So imagine the amount of time needed, sometime around 16 to 17 hours it takes for one-way communication from Earth to reach Voyager. So now for such type of unmanned space probes, most of the tasks needs to be performed within a stipulated time. Like the very crucial part, when these are launched by rockets. When these are launched and they have to be taken into space, what the rocket does is just it carries this device to space and it leaves it there. Got it? Now everything has to be handled by this device itself. So real-time operating systems, they are the actual heroes behind the working of these unmanned space probes. Okay, when the space probe has to expand, normally it is the different parts. The space probes are folded and kept within a limited space, and when it reaches space, it has to reassemble itself, it has to expand. All that has to be performed. Every task of a space probe has to be performed within a stipulated time. Because if it doesn't happen, then what will happen? The entire space probe might not work, or a slight deflection in the trajectory, that is the path of the space probe, and it may get hit by an asteroid, or it may get hit by a micrometeoroid, and that small micrometeoroid which is traveling at a very high speed through vacuum, okay, through space, that even renders more damage than what a bullet does. Got it? So you can imagine the amount of damage which these spacecraft might encounter on their way to the distant planets. So all that task needs to be performed within a specific deadline. Otherwise the system might fail or the device might crash. Okay, so for doing this we need real-time operating system. Even when you watch movies and watch videos or live streaming of movie television, so you might have seen that both voice and video needs to be synchronized with each other. Otherwise what will happen, the video would be too fast, or the voice is slow, or the voice is fast and video is slow. So both of them might be lagging. So what is important, that both have to be in synchronization with each other, and as it is being telecasted, it has to be viewed by the viewer also at the same time. So again, real-time operating systems. So this was an interesting topic here. In fact, my favorite topic, that is astronomy. And then next we come to the last one, that is interactive. We have two. We have interactive, we have multi-processing operating systems also. So talking about interactive operating systems, what are interactive operating systems? So interactive operating systems are all the modern day GUI based operating systems, that is graphical user interface. All these operating systems, GUI based operating systems, graphical user interface based operating systems, which allow us easy operations in the form of point and click. We don't need to remember any commands for that. We can the operating system. Any operating system which you are using on your smartphone, you are working with the help of touch. Okay, so that is what GUI based operating system. They all fall in the category of interactive operating systems. Last, multiprocessing. They are mostly for systems which have more than one processors. Now the computer which normally we use as personal computers or laptops, it has one microprocessor. But there are computers like mainframe computers, supercomputers, which work with around more than 100 processors at a time. Okay, some have even up to 250 to 300 processors. So how do you expect such systems to work? They need a specific type of operating system known as multiprocessing operating system. Usually in such operating systems, there will be one master microprocessor and we will have multiple slave processors. One master and multiple slaves. So master receives the instruction, the task, and it divides it into smaller modules, and each of the slaves handles all those modules. Usually heavy scientific tasks or scientific researchers, astronomical researching, all of them, supercomputers, mainframe computers, they make use of such type of operating system. So with this was the introduction to all these type of operating systems. More detailing I'll be giving you in the online class. Thank you everyone.
Maybach music. Can anybody out there hear me? Hear me?